Imagine you come across the first predator to have ever visited the Earth during a time before the discovery of electricity. Well, shit. That's right, in the movie Prey, the characters must figure out ways on how to beat the predator with rocks and arrows. The question is, who dies first and who will make it through? Well, in this video we will look at the characters' mistakes, figure out better ways on how to survive, and of course, beat the first predator in Prey 2022. Let's go! So, the year is 1719, and we follow a young Comanche woman named Naru who lives with her tribe on the Great American Plains. Unlike other women of the tribe who take care of the warriors, who are usually men, and produce homemade medicine, Naru is interested in hunting like the other men of the tribe. Every once in a while, she sneaks into the forest with her dog best friend Sari to practice her hunting skills, but usually fails. One day during her practice session though, she sees something moving across the clouds, which as we now know in the 21st century, would be a freaking alien spaceship. But since this place 300 years ago, our human ancestors have zero clue on what this could be. Therefore, naturally, she misunderstands this sight as a mystical sign that it's time for her to prove herself to the tribe and become a warrior herself. She discusses this with her brother Taabe, who is a celebrated hunter, that tells her that in order to become a hunter herself, she must score her Kuhatamia, which stands synonymous for big hunt, which basically is nothing less but a ritual in which an apprentice must hunt something that is known for hunting humans and is especially dangerous. Makes sense, right? It could be a mountain lion, it could be a bear, or dare I say, an alien. Well, before any of that can take place though, one of the warriors disappears the next day, and it is believed that he was taken away by a big cat. Now a team of hunters go into the woods, and naturally Naru wants to join. She is denied though because she is a female and a healer and not fit for combats, but of course as the rebellious person that she is, she doesn't give a flying F and secretly follows the team from the shadows. Now, there are a few things worth to mention here. First, it only takes a short while before she is seen by them, right? Now, most warriors think that females should stay at the camp, take care of it, produce healing items, and are not fit for physical battles. I certainly understand that sentiment, right, from some perspective, but on every single battlefield that we know in the history of humanity, there were always healers around that aided the combatants. Now, as this team is looking for a most likely wounded comrade, it would only make sense to gather healers to join them on their journey. Now, they didn't. Naru joined based on her own desires, and I think, great on her, wrong decision from the team. It would be much better to have some healers trained in hunting as well, at least the basics. Then have always more than one healer / damage healer follow on a hunt to secure the safety of all members and the success of every mission. So in short, first bring someone along who has medical knowledge, and second, women tend to be more observant than men and are therefore great assets in tracking down subjects. Having said that though, taking a weak link with you, which everybody is that can take care of him or herself, can also be a burden, and that is something to consider. That is why they should selectively train suitable healers in the art of basic combat so that they can take care of themselves. Now, once they find the injured man, Naru treats him with a special herb that lowers his body temperature. This becomes important later on because you guys already know. At the same time, Taabe decides to track down the lion while Naru must stay back with the injured guy. This is a terrible mistake. You see, it is nighttime, and everyone knows that the jungle during the night is a different place. Their goal was to find their comrade. They succeeded. It would be much better for all of them to leave again and go for a hunt the day after with the sun as an ally. You see, moreover, big cats have 6 to 8 times better night vision than human beings, so I don't think you need more reasons to postpone this hunt. Now Naru, told to stay back, explains that it's not only the lion that they have to be aware of, but also some other creature that scared off the lion, right? It's a very smart thing to observe actually. A big cat has had our comrade, yet it didn't kill him. The only plausible explanation for that is it was scared off by something even bigger than itself. So she follows Taabe anyway, and on the way she finds a skinned snake and some strange footmarks on the ground. This obviously concerns her because she has never seen anything like that. Now Taabe on the other hand doesn't seem to mind, which is strange, because here we have literal footmarks of a creature that doesn't resemble any animal, and yet he chooses to ignore it. That is obviously a red flag that you should not ignore. But the next strange decision Taabe makes is to turn off the torches. Now hunting a lion at night isn't a great idea to begin with, but now he's doing it in pitch black darkness. Sure, you say low-key that way, but you also blind yourself. Now they set up a trap to hunt a lion using the bait method. Let me explain. When a lion is fixated on a bait, it is easier to catch, right? Now at the trap site, Naru and Paake, one of the hunters, wait for the lion to come, but as the dude keeps ridiculing Naru for no reason whatsoever, he doesn't notice the lion preying up on him. And that is how the first one bites the dust, and it was completely his fault. Meanwhile, Naru, while combating the lion, falls down from a tree and hits her head and passes out. Taabe can't kill the lion, which earns him the title of war chief and leaves Naru even more embarrassed than ever before. Now a day later or so, Naru decides to hunt down whatever it was that shrieked off the lion on their previous hunt. So as she's wandering through the jungle, she sees a green fluorescent liquid on a tree, which we already know is the blood of, well, the predator. But to her, of course, she's never seen anything like that before. So, eventually she finds an entire freaking field of skinned bisons, which is a bad omen to her. Now multiple things happen next. First, she steps into quicksand-esque mud, but can save herself reliably and quickly, which proves that she is indeed capable of saving herself. Secondly, she and her dog are both attacked by a wild bear. They flee into a beaver dam to stay out of sight, which works well, but only until she sees something invisible is fighting the bear now. Whatever is fighting the bear must be strong, because it finishes it off within moments only to end up covered in its blood. Now Naru does the only right thing here. You escape, right? If you see something ripping apart a bear in front of your eyes, then that is not something you want to fight. Unfortunately though, she runs into a group of her own people who forcefully try to take her back to the camp. But the predator has other ideas. He attacks the group and viciously, one by one, kills them in the most gruesome way possible. It literally wipes out the whole freaking gang but her. Why is that? Well, it seems to ignore her because it doesn't see her as a threat. You see, facing off an invisible predator that can and will rip you into pieces is a bad idea to begin with, right? But facing off the same monster with bow and arrow is even worse. The best chance they had was to go for a sprint. The best thing for Naru to do would have been to observe the beast from afar and figure out its weaknesses. Now there are a few things that the Comanche huntsman didn't know that I think you should know. Let's have a look at this scene carefully here. We can notice here that the predator has a thermal vision. It identifies any living creature by its body heat. Secondly, it focuses on a sharp tool one of the huntsmen carries. Now there is a potential that this sharp object caused it to attack. So dropping a potential weapon in the face of a predator may save your life. Also, to beat the thermal vision, pretty much any insulating material will help you literally stay invisible to the eyes of the alien. But this takes preparation, which at this point our characters couldn't afford. Now Naru is able to escape, but is captured by French trappers wearing bison skin. They put her in a cage like an animal and force her to tell them whatever she knows about the alien that she had just encountered. Now she denies it, but relents once she sees her brother Taabe all chained up. The Frenchmen then use both of them as bait to capture the predator, and it works, but instead of killing them, it attacks the French people instead, and proves that as long as you are not seen as a threat, you are pretty safe. Our Naru explains this to Taabe, who agrees finally. He tells her that she sees what he doesn't and gives her props. At the same time, we have seen how an alien predator has more dignity than some human beings. Perhaps it is time to switch sides and team up with this dude to hunt some bad apples of humanity. Now, they tried to free themselves, which they should have done without having a quick chit-chat while the freaking predator was wreaking havoc. But that's a movie and that's how things go. You see, they're being held together with a rope on a tree trunk, right? Instead of wasting time, they could just easily rub the rope on the bark until it snaps. Now, one thing to note here is that the head portion of the predator has an indestructible exoskeleton type shield. This shield is so strong that even the bullets fired by the Frenchmen can't pass through. But the Frenchmen don't get this and keep blasting their shots at it, which makes zero sense. I mean, you can't just keep on doing something that doesn't work, hoping it works suddenly. I don't know. Our lovely predator has had enough of them and decides to go for a clutch. He deploys a few bombs and boom, it is game over. Now, at this point, our smart character Naru makes her way to the French campsite to free her dog Sari. There, she stumbles over the translator of the French guys, who begs her to help him. He offers her to teach her how to use a flintlock pistol in exchange for treating his severed leg. Now, Naru gives him herbs to lower his body temperature that would reduce the bleeding and kind of stanch the bleeding. But once the predator arrives at the campsite, things go a little bit different. You see, the translator plays dead and the alien can't see him. That is when Naru realizes that the predator cannot see a person if their body temperature is too low. They say when death calls, you can't escape though. You see, the alien accidentally steps over his leg and the poor guy screams for dear life. And that was the end of his storyline. Now, before moving further though, I want you to observe this scene right here. Here we see Yautja, another name for the predator, sees Sari as a threat and targets it using a laser beam from his exoskeleton-like head shell. Now, Taabe strikes Yautja on the head and his hard shell falls to the ground. The laser target shifts from Sari to the tree trunk and misses the beloved CGI dog of the movie. Naru, observing all of this from afar, finally conceives a plan on how to successfully fight the predator and beat it. But at the same time, Taabe starts ululating to divert the predator's attention. Basically, he wants to save his sister, which we can understand and respect. A brave attempt, though, to save his sister is noble, but not really necessary. He should have just teamed up with her and devised a plan with the knowledge that she had gathered so far. Well, anyways, Taabe somehow distracts the predator and gets killed while Naru escapes. Naru then hides near the water, which is a good move as we know, and then Naru attacks the man and uses him as a bait to attract the alien, basically another Frenchman. I think this scene though is a bit rushed and not clearly executed. I don't know, but having a person injured and tired swim across a river, attack a man, drag him across the river again, and then continue the fight against the monster, well, it's a little bit unbelievable if you ask me. So now Naru eats the herb that lowers her body temperature herself and starts whistling. Little fun fact here, the Native American tribes used to believe that whistling at night summons the evil. Here, Naru whistling signifies that she is intentionally and literally summoning the evil. And well, the plan of course works. The predator comes to kill the bait. While it is immersed in analyzing its fresh kill, Naru uses the gun to blast off his head shield once again. She then grabs the helmet and runs into the jungle. She hides in the trees and waits for it to arrive, and then jumps down to do as much damage as possible. But the predator, as we know, is a mighty creature. It cannot be killed that easily. So, a vicious fight breaks out between the two, and she almost gets killed. Now, this is a bit of a stretch though. As I mentioned before, a one-on-one fight with the predator is stupidity, considering that none has survived this fight, unless they are Arnold Schwarzenegger. Naru somehow becomes successful to drag Yautja into the mud, and when it tries to remove itself from the mud, she tells her foe this.
This is as far as you go. No more. This is it.
Now the predator aims and tries to shoot at her, but Naru outsmarts it. He uses the target tracking mechanism of his head shield to divert the projectile away from her and right into its own head. This kills the most vicious predator, and Naru is able to score her Kuhatamiya at the same time. Hell yeah. She reaches a tribe all covered in fluorescent green blood because it looks just so good, and well, explains what had happened. Therefore, she became a warrior in the end, lost her brother though in the process, but could beat the first predator that had ever visited the Earth. And that's it for this movie. I hope you've enjoyed this week's video. Catch you again next week. Take care and binge another one.